Just got through sanding the top and buffing it out. I have some areas of orange peel that I'm not going to fool with because they're so close to the edge. Probably catch it. Leave the light just right, you'll probably catch it. But that's going to be just fine. So now I went over the hood, or half the hood. First go around with 1500 soft block cross hatching. I'm going to keep going with that. On the top, I'm going to be honest with you, I did some scary stuff up there, for me anyway. I used a DA, a dual action sander with 1200, and I went over that quite a bit to level it out. And then I came in with 1500 and then 2000, and then the 3M number 1 pad, number 2 pad with the appropriate buffing compound. Okay, I've completed the first step in color sanding on this side of the hood using 1500 grit paper. I've got a flexible Durablock, also a piece of hardwood I just cut down to give me a little more detail when I need to get something close. And what you do, when you're color sanding, when you're wet sanding, use a lot of water, wet your paper, wet your surface area. Work in a cross hatch pattern, so you're going to go in one direction and then turn around and go the other direction. I just change hands, it's easier for me to push the paper. Okay. Use a squeegee. This is just a piece of an old thin flexible sanding block. When you squeegee it off, you can see your progress. You can see, you may not be able to see it, but I got the light just right. There's a little bit of orange peel here. There's some surface defects in this. I'm just not comfortable going that far. At this point, I'm not gonna wet sand this gutter either, because you don't want to sand anywhere that you can't buff. Otherwise, it's going to look like this, and you just about have to machine buff this stuff. So if you get down in here, if I'm later when I'm buffing it out, if I see that I can get down in here without burning the paint up, then I'll come back and sand it. But right now, I'm not really that concerned with that. I'm not concerned with the minor flaws either, because there's one right here. It's a I don't know what it was. I thought it was a speck of dirt, but I've sanded all the way around it several times, and it's actually a depression. So I won't be able to sand that out without cutting into the color. In other words, I won't be able to sand it out unless I sand down so far that I'm through the clear coat and into the paint. I don't want to do that. So I'd rather live with that flaw and the little bit of orange peel that's in the gutter than to have to respray this hood, because it was a bear to get the metallics to blend in right. So we're done with 1500. I'm going to move to 2000. That'll go a lot faster. This took quite a while just doing this. A lot of areas you got to avoid around the edges. Don't do your edges. You got to be careful when you're going up on this Chevy hood. You know, it ramps up right here and then it peaks out. You don't want to do the peak, but if you're doing your edges, or if you're coming up to this ramp, you run the possibility of cutting into your, or scratching into your ramp there. So I'm going to leave it alone too. I'm not a pro. I'm not even a semi-pro. So, like I said, we're done with 1500 here. We're going to go to 2000. Then we're going to use the first step in the buffing compound, first wheel. Go to the second wheel, and we'll see the difference in between the untouched side of the hood and the buffed out and color sanded side of the hood. ready for the first stage of buffing. We've cleaned this off. You want to make sure there's no specks of dirt or anything, even from the sandpaper. Nothing at all. Clean it up real good. Otherwise, you're going to grind that stuff into your finish, what little bit of finish is left anyway. We'll be using a Milwaukee variable speed buffer. You're going to run it on about a little more than position 2. I have no idea what that RPM would be, but it feels good, so it doesn't scare me. As far as the wheel goes, it's a 3M Perfect It foam compounding pad, part number 05706. They identify it with the number 1 on it. You use the corresponding compound, which is part number 36060. It also has the 1 on it. The next step will be different part numbers, different pads, and you'll have a 2 and a 2. It's a little quick snap-on rig. Just get to it. All right, like I said, this wheel is like a quick attach. To release it, you pull down on the collar behind it. It's a hex shape. Snaps right in, can't come off. Give your compound a good shake, mix it up really well. We've got our edges. I've got that peak taped off. I've also got the fender, the edge of this fender taped off. I don't want to mess with it just yet. When you're buffing your edges, you want the buffer spins in a clockwise position. So you want your wheel to be buffing off of the edge. In other words, you're going to tilt it up just slightly, very slightly, and you only want the wheel to be hitting the edge when it's sweeping off of it. You don't want your wheel to be coming back into the edge, sweeping into it, because it will burn the paint right off of that. We still may burn through. This is, to me, this is the scariest part of color sanding and buffing. Is the scariest part of painting. Keep your compound damp. Don't run it dry. Don't run your buffer dry. And we'll see how much of this stuff we can do here. Oh, and you should only work about a 2-foot square area. So we're only going to do about this much right here, and then wipe it off and check it. Take a clean microfiber cloth. And buff that out and see what you got. This will kind of give you an opportunity if you have a problem. Maybe there's some dirt in your pad or whatever, and you can catch it early before it messes up your whole job. I'm gonna go over that one more time, wipe it off, and then move down to here, work my way up. We'll be comparing notes here pretty quick. We're looking at the reflection of the fluorescent light through the paint that as it was sprayed on. In other words, we hadn't done anything to this but wipe it down. That's it. Let's see here. Zoom in a little bit. You can see all the orange peel in it. Nothing's really clear. So here's the same light after the first. We've sanded it with 1500 and 2000, and we came in with the first compound. We still got to put the second compound on there, and it'll get even shinier than that. Now it's still going to have some orange peel in it because I didn't sand that. If you sand this flat, absolutely flat, that will be a mirror image, and the lines will be straight. Make sure everything's clean so you don't introduce any contamination into your pad and then swirl marks everywhere and stuff that would make you disappointed on yourself. Same process though. We're going to put some compound down, work in small areas. We actually broke this up into 4 different areas and polished it and then wiped it down to check our progress. We ended up doing everything twice. So polished this area, wiped it down, polished the same area, wiped it down, satisfied, moved down to here, here, and then here. As far as I can tell right now, there was absolutely no reason at all to have risk going down in here with sandpaper. I believe I could have polished it out, but you just can't really tell that there's anything wrong there. So I'm going to leave it alone. We changed wheels. We're using the 3M 05707 pad. It's a black pad, waffle shape, and the 3M machine polish 06064. Again, they make it easy for you. There's a 2, you just match up your numbers, 2 and 2. Use a number 2 pad with a number 2 polish.